Does working out at night hurt your sleep?
Is that really true? Is there truly no other time for you to work out?
And this is interesting because I've been talking about resting heart rate as the single most important biomarker in my entire life, as all the efforts we've done basically collapse into this marker. So to me, this was really cool to see that things that increase your resting heart rate before bed negatively impact your sleep, and exercise maybe counterintuitively is one of those things.
Today, we're going to talk about two things, which I'm really, really excited about because they're both incredibly practical and they're also zero cost. So a lot of people, if they're doing like saunas and cold plunge, great. Also, if they're not doing these basic things, they could be missing out and also starting their health off on a bad start. So I really, really am excited to talk about these two things. One is the Whoop sleep study that got published. And then the second thing is resting heart rate. So we're going to dive into both those topics today.
Y'all, I am super excited about this Whoop study. Like this is just really exciting for me because this is like really great data that I think the medical community and longevity community has been waiting on since we started using these wearable devices. And to actually see this getting published is just super cool because it's in my mind going to change the way we think about research in a lot of ways.
I'm wondering, why did it take this long to get a study? We've had this data. Wearables have been really part of the health community for over a decade now. And you can argue that the quality was maybe on some improvement trend, but why did it take that long to get a study out on this basic thing?
They had 4 million nights of biometric data. So that took a little while to gather, I guess. I think like there's not money behind this. Like when you look at like what NIH funds, they don't fund sleep studies, right? Like lifestyle studies are not backed by pharma or any other financial institutions. So you've got to have companies or people that are like inherently motivated to produce this type of research. So it's hard to get your hands on, hard to get backed.
When I read these kinds of studies, I'm always reminded of the basic premise that we are not taught the basic elements of health in society. So in school, we learn sex ed. Great. We take driver's lessons before we get our license, but we do not learn the basics of sleep. We don't understand, like, is it better to exercise in the morning or the night? And so these really fundamental basic questions of life are just unanswered. And you can live an entire lifetime and never actually be taught how to sleep. And before I really went into this deeply, even in reading all the books I read, there was never actually a practical guide on how to structure your life around sleep. So I think this study actually bridges nicely to these two topics pair nicely, the study on exercise and sleep, then also resting heart rate. So this will be an episode, everyone, that you can send to your friends and family and to those you want to introduce to health and wellness. Like Kate was saying, these are very practical tips that everybody can do, and you don't have to spend any money.
So the study that we're referencing, it's by Whoop. This is the wearable from Whoop. So essentially you wear it on your wrist. Some people wear it on their bicep, but they analyzed 4.3 million nights of sleep, which is an insane amount of data across 15,000 Whoop members. And they were asking the question, does working out at night hurt your sleep? And so what they found was that, I'm going to read this list here, strenuous evening workouts can delay sleep onset, shorten sleep duration, and reduce sleep quality. Elevated nocturnal heart rate and decreased heart rate variability were observed after high-strain evening exercise. And workouts concluding at least 4 hours before bedtime showed no negative impact on sleep. So essentially, the TLDR is that if you work out too close to bed, especially high strain, it will negatively impact your sleep, which is such practical and useful information. What do you guys think?
100%. Like the interesting thing for me about the study is, one, the size. So 14,000 participants, I think anyone can realize that's huge. 4 million biometric data points or nights of biometric data is also huge. So huge study. When you compare to the prior research we had in this area is really small studies and a lot of subjective data. So a lot of like survey, yes, I slept well. No, I didn't sleep well. Yes, I exercised. No, I didn't exercise. Now we're actually getting like exercise metrics. So we understand not only how intensely someone is exercising, but how long they're exercising, and then when they're exercising in reference to when they normally fall asleep, which is another really interesting aspect of the study that I didn't realize at first. But they're not just looking at when you exercise in reference to when you fell asleep that day. They're looking at when you exercise versus when you normally fall asleep. What's your habitual sleep pattern look like? So if you stayed up later, but you ended up exercising past your normal bedtime, that was noted in the study. And this information is things that we just haven't had access to before. So it's really changing the breadth and depth of data that we've had on sleep and exercise previously.
Yeah, and some other data points from the study is the highest intensity exercise 2 hours before bedtime increased resting heart rate by 3.9 beats per minute, which is 6.8%, and HRV down was 32.6. They showed a lessened recovery with with exercise between 2 and 6 hours before bedtime. So even they highlight the 4-hour marker, but really it's 2 to 6 hour window where you're lessening recovery, you increase resting heart rate, you lower HRV.